I don't know if I think you all caught the stuff from last week. We started talking about like getting into clarity. Okay, we've got to do this operating system and the sort of onboarding. And we started to lay out like just a base example layout of maybe like a design process this week. Obviously keeping in mind this idea that, people need to be able to come along and start building their own projects with this outline, but also that we're going to discover exactly what the outline is in the process of doing these first two projects in a way. We gave a basic brief. We kind of need to refine the brief when we actually go into the initial proposal stage. I don't know if I can zoom in here, probably not. I can't go back either. Sorry, my bad. But yeah, we just thought like just a very quick outline using clarity for what it is right now. Brief of the initial project, then the actual design process, and then we'll probably have results and stuff like that. Once you go into the initial proposal, we've got a little bit written in there, but really it's just the start. And we're gonna, once we have this initial meetup, probably I think it's next week, is it, Nick?
Yeah, I think we're intending for Monday, but we're very much conscious of when we talk about like the fire and the concept for this agora. And funnily enough, Luke's research work and my own and Ivana always seem to like coalesce in interesting ways. So I'm like going super deep in the DAO research world and building that into clarity and whatever. And then like when we're talking about the fire and like the need for like repetitive kind of friction and stuff happening to kind of create what in our context is like community energy and engagement. I mean, like we're here at our fifth weekly sort of meetup, and there's going to be maybe a dozen of us who join, you know what I mean? So it's like, how do we start? How do we get the fire going and build it up and build it up? So that's been a very interesting kind of exploration. And so our idea with sort of starting to explore creating like an operating system for Voyager is our concept as a season 0 project. So it's kind of creating this like guiding blueprint for the DAO and all that, and inviting anyone like members who want to come in and kind of contribute and be part of those sort of conversations and working groups and kind of and then going through ourselves through this sort of design process basically. So I guess it's us trying to get the fire going, and also the sort of the DAOification of Voyager, building in the open, building something that, everyone can tap into and check out, and creating our own documentation and the like how we do things. So we're pretty excited about it. And it's just interesting to find ourselves at what is definitely the early stages of a DAO project, And so it's like, how do we start? How do we get the fire going,
Right, so I'm going to very quickly just talk about the fire thing, just because Nick's saying it, and maybe it'll get us in some ideas going.
I've been up all night. I missed the rehearsal.
That's all good. And anyone, if you have any questions or you want to talk about it, I'll try not to talk for too long. So I think I've said before, I'm doing this kind of year-long course with this dude called Josh, who runs the Emerald podcast. And it's all in this mythic kind of world. I highly recommend you guys go and check it out. Very interesting. But this week we're talking about fire. And it was talking about like sort of the relationship of, the dynamics of kind of the world are in like a fire. There's all these different aspects. And it was talking about what a good fire needs. So obviously like Voyager's in this like phase of prepping to create basically a fire. Because once we get a fire going, it should be pretty easy to keep that fire going, but it just requires certain aspects like, like the DAO is running. We need to like check in and make sure it's operating right so we have a healthy fire. All these sorts of things. But so there's an ingredient to do a good fire, right? So tending to a physical fire, firstly, is like a relationship. So it's going to take this idea of us all coming, checking in, getting in rhythm, in repetition, that kind of thing. So the very one of the fundamental things you need to make a fire is this repetitive friction. This goes back to what's in the center of all our stuff, this repetitive practice. But the repetitive friction is just this sort of heat-making kind of energy. And so right now, all of us being here, and also before that, just me and Ivano and Nick meeting up, that's what we're doing. We just keep meeting up constantly, and that's creating the friction, creating the energy and the sort of relationship to get, to basically come up with the idea of Voyager in the first place. And now we're sort of further beyond that. Now we're kind of getting closer to actually like lighting a flame. And in order to light a flame, we need oxygen, we need the right kind of fuel and the right amount of fuel. We also need like a container that is not too enclosed. Also, it's not too exposed. So this is going to be the structure of the Tao itself. And the fuel is going to be basically, it's going to be us coming in, all the different members and the people coming in, what they bring, or the ideas they have, or just that kind of thing. And then the last aspect is that there's this sort of diligence, this continual check-in. And that's kind of comes up in like listening to people, what people say, or just like nothing's set in stone. So we might make a DAO system, but it's got to be able to evolve. And we need to, in making the operating system or the onboarding, we need to be able to evolve it as it kind of, I guess, resonates or doesn't resonate, or things change. And that's the basic idea. Any questions, ideas, or
any comments from the space? What do you guys think about this kind of mental model for creating energy?
Sounds interesting in terms of framing, like how to get stuff going, and I could see it applying to once the DAO's running and working. That's kind of like a fire where it's easier to just add some more fuel to the fire than it is to get a fire started from scratch. And it's also a good idea to make sure that the container is right and you have the proper fuel and stuff. I think maybe something missing from that analogy is like the purpose for the fire, or like what you're using it for. Is it to warm people up or run a steam engine or something like that?
Yeah.
So that's cool. That was really cool. Thanks for that. That was really cool. So like the idea with the fire is that like it melts things, it heats things up. We're these bodies of water that are heated. So the fire inside you, that creative stuff. And if you take it back to the mythic stuff, it's like the sort of not the god, but the sort of the being you're in relationship with, that fire aspect. It's at that sort of foundation of the universe in a way, like some of these other things. It is one of these bare elements. Like he was talking a lot about like life before humans kind of started having a relationship with fire. It's this Prometheus thing, this knowledge bringer, this forward thinking. Like he was saying, the world we live in now is very fire, like we're dropping these fire bombs. We're inflamed from all the food we're eating. The planet itself's heating. All these fire elements. And then there's also some stuff about like Aboriginal culture, talking about the Western culture is sort of like adolescent, because it's sort of like we have these impulses and we just sort of satisfy them. We're burning really quickly. Really hot. So we don't have a balanced fire. So Australian Aboriginal culture is sort of waiting out what's happening with the Western population in Australia. That's just their natural understanding of the process of transformation. Anyway, not to go too deep into that, but the idea is that fire, it melts things. So all of us coming in here are, if we start getting into this repetitive practice, creating this repetitive friction, it starts to melt away things in our lives. And it should basically get us into this state where we're more receptive to each other, because we kind of quieten down, melt down these complex, which is the complexity of life in a way. It should just melt it. That's the idea of the heat. And yeah, there's different types of fires and stuff like that too. But yeah, I won't talk too much about it. Sorry.
That's cool. I do it. And I like the synchronicity that you're kind of bringing this up this week, exactly as we're kind of, it's a very relevant concept, I think, this week when we're exploring like getting a fire going more so, and the idea of a creative practice, repetitive practice is kind of like friction, like rubbing sticks together, and then that creates combustion and energy and heat and all and you know, all that stuff is kind of quite fitting.
Cool.
Also fits in that general like elemental hippie nature, apparently. So we talked about water a lot as well. Water has also been very apt. I'm talking about stuff, conceiving a Voyager as a vessel, a container. It's a vessel for fire, but also water and the way it flows and all. Yeah.
But yeah, all that stuff fits in these ideas of like alchemy. I don't know too much about that, but I know that's like there's like fire. Sort of, I think it's in your lower belly in like Eastern like martial art philosophy stuff, or chi. It's like at the base of the vessel, the cauldron, at the bottom behind your navel is where the fire is, and then below your like pineal gland, the top of your mouth, that's where the water comes out. The water cascades downwards, and the fire goes up. So those two, that's the alchemy of making, you know, of a vessel that holds the chi within your body. And you know, we can talk about like a fire, you know, or your own personal creative energy, or just your energy in life, and like burning it too quick or not, or there's like dynamics to it. There's like the balanced fire, there's the dim fire from like over like too much fire, like too much fuel, and it burns out and then it just dims down. So like if Voyager was super hype, you know, we could start the dial, we can turn everything on, and now we're going to figure out what we're doing. We're burning really hot. This is wild. We're selling heaps of stuff. There's like everything, and it's like
NFT white.
So that would be burning the candle at both ends, then I guess.
Yeah,
we could be the mechas. Well, like the mecha bots.
Look, I mean, the philosophy of, or I guess the feeling of the Web3 thing is these sort of long-term kind of, not products, but these what is it? Things for the commons. I'm not sure the right word for it, but public.
Yeah,
that's it. Anyway,
maybe let's. I don't know how much you've got here, like exploring the actual OS and the ideas we had here, or do we want to speak to that, or do you have a slide for that? I'm also keen to kind of like get as much comment and conversation with folks here in the group as well. But how much OS stuff do we have to share?
So we don't have anything to share on OS other than this slide, and then the next slide talking about onboard, because basically it's just supposed to have a little chat, and then we wanted to, you know, hear from you cats, and that was the basic idea. So operating system, what did we work out? So we're still going to have this initial meeting where we're going to actually deep dive into this and have this kind of roundtable. We have to get people on board. We sent out our newsletter today, so that should connect to the wider community that aren't, you know, interacting with Discord or all these different systems. And that, did we send it yet, Nick?
Fuck me, taxes.
Taxes or Texas?
Oh, sorry. I'm. I didn't realize. Muted.
No, that was all cool, man. So we sent out the newsletter.
Yeah, we're having some trouble with the email platform we're using. It's just taking a while to like verify our email list or some nonsense like that. But cool. Yeah, we'll be sending that out as soon as possible. But that kind of has the the guiding steps through to kind of, okay, here's our meeting space in Gather Town, that kind of shared digital voice chat place. Here's the Miro board, which is our kind of like the circle and our central point and the things that emanate out from it. The invitation for everyone can come and join the board at Clarity to access that. We have the link for our agoras, and there was another fourth point. The Google Calendar link. But yeah, so basically we're kind of handling a lot of the admin in the newsletter this week.
So that will connect to the larger people that aren't engaging necessarily in Discord, different people, in the DAO, but at whatever extent. And obviously we want to get as many so as much attention as we can for the initial project for sort of making the right, sort of collection of people to give it attention. Because obviously we don't want to do it all ourselves. It needs to be this community thing. So that's the operating system. The initial conversation we had, it feels more like we want this living system, this living organism. And that's kind of going to be the base of it. And we'll explore a little bit before the meeting, but that's, I think, where we're at so far as like a starting point.
Yeah, totally. I might comment real quick on that. So that's been a really useful mental model in thinking of stuff as like imagining the Voyager DAO as Luke said, as a living system, kind of like an organism or whatever. And so you can imagine this kind of circle. Other DAOs and projects also use like this sort of analogy of like a city, a sort of digital decentralized city. But we can also think of it almost like a living cell, and it has these different active elements within the cell, which for us would be some of the infrastructure that we have, like the tools and mechanisms that we have to collaborate and do stuff, to create work, to publish work, all that kind of stuff. Another element inside the system, of course, is all the members themselves, like all of us, how we interconnect with each other and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And on the outside, the living system also is the sort of the interface between the organism and the external. So the way that a cell will interact with its environment is beaming out and receiving information back in, all that good kind of stuff. But we found it a really useful model in terms of finding that balance in like creating a resilient system, creating a DAO, basically. But anyway, that was just kind of like an analogy in a story that we're using coming in. And then when exploring, mapping out this OS is about creating understanding across the organization and the community about essentially, I'll just read from here for a second, but creating an operating system for Voyager. Its structure will be a guiding blueprint for the DAO, providing clarity about how members can contribute, interact, and create their own projects. And this project will support planning for establishing the DAO and governance. So basically, this is us like for real booting up the real organization and just sort of having that transparency and collaboration from members, so we can create this thing together. And then that's our kind of guiding blueprint of like, if this instance happens, if we're in this situation, well, here's how that works. So if someone has joined and they want to do a creative project within Voyager, here's how you interact with the community, or blah, blah, blah. Essentially, we have an answer, or we know, people know kind of how things go. And then in creating the OS, then that can inform the other project that we want to do in season 0, which is creating the onboarding as well. So it's like, once we know how things work, then we can also collaborate together to create powerful, positive onboarding experience, supporting content, whatever you want to say. So for new members joining and all that, it becomes a really smooth experience. And a lot of the onboarding is also the story that we're telling, the story that we're experiencing, and all that kind of thing. So yeah, so we thought creating the OS together and creating the onboarding together, the human interface. And some of this is also pointing in the direction of, we'll explore this in the project, in the actual project that'll be happening outside of the agoras. But it's also, we have this sort of vision for Voyager itself to become this creative interface. So, it has this meaningful onboarding that's built into it, but potentially it also has creative tools and stuff built into it. So you can actually make art with it. You can mint NFTs directly into it. You can, connect to the network, become a member, like all these kinds of things that potentially we can build as a sort of open and evolving resource is sort of part of the inspiration here. Because if we can support members' creative practice and getting that fire going at an individual, Simply Voyager can be a powerful tool for focus and for creating stuff, then that seems like a pretty good place to be. So that's kind of some of our thinking.
Yeah. So basically, what we are trying to do is exposing you guys to these first two projects, which is the onboarding and the operative system, and expose it to you. You actually, these are the two projects you will find on Clarity. So like when the newsletter will go out, you will all have the link, and this is the beginning. Like it's starting the conversation. We are inviting everyone that is willing to contribute, comment, give feedback, and start it from here. Yes.
And as well, in getting these projects set up, we feel like this is establishing the framework and foundation for the organization, the project in general, the community. And then that puts us in a good place to ultimately create a token, do a fundraise, or to kind of to kickstart the DAO itself and sort of the DAO economy, or whatever you want to call it. So we feel like these pieces are key to have in place ahead of doing that, which will ultimately kick off season 1 of the DAO, at least in our thinking at this stage. Sort of open to collaboration and comment on those sorts of things, but that's roughly our intention. I'm mindful that there's probably a bunch of projects that go straight to the fundraise and that everything else can come after that. But we kind of feel like it's good to kind of have a basis and an understanding for what Voyager is made in collaboration with its members. And then, that's the kind of, I suppose, the long-term, it sort of supports the long-term vision and approach that we have.
And of course, we have already some basic ideas on how we think we can roll this out, but trying to be as open as we can. We value people checking in, being like within Voyager, and we believe there's that's a value for us to listen from information coming from outside.
Yeah, we have to stimulate. And so the basic form is like Clarity. You can do comments, you can kind of leave notes and stuff like that. And that's not that's something, but it's not everything. So using the other tools like GatherTown and the Miro board where we can drop things down is going to be really essential. And I think we'll introduce that in our sort of first meeting.
I think it's going to be fun too. Like we've been really excited working, like sort of prepping this stuff up, and I've kind of been researching deeply, and I'm really loving the Creator Cabins have this really fantastic blog. I think it's creators.miro.xyz, but sort of finding all these resources that are really great in helping us scoping things out, understanding everything that ideally should be present at this stage. And then ultimately doing it in collaboration with everybody is about, let's create the organization that best suits ourselves. Like we get to design the system that we want to be a part of, kind of thing. So I'm finding that pretty exciting.
Cool. We should really just open up for you cats to kind of just talk, because otherwise we'll just keep talking.
Absolutely.
Till the very end, keep talking.
But if there's any feedback, any ideas you have, obviously the operating system, the onboarding experience are going to be their own big conversations. But if you have something you want to say now about it, please feel free to say something.
So just to clarify, I haven't been on Clarity yet, but I'll get on that soon. And there's something a post on there now, or something that's like defining the framework or what you guys are calling the operating system, which is basically, where we meet and how we do things, and then we're going to build off of there. Is that right?
Yeah. So going through this process together, and apologies if there's been a delay in sharing clarity with everybody, sort of having an issue with the email platform to send out the newsletter where it's got all the links for everyone. And I guess once we can always pin those links into the Discord as well in a secret channel, I suppose. But yeah, that's basically what it is. So we can go through, many of you will sort of recognize the kind of design process that's here, first proposal, then we investigate and research, then we immerse in that and explore that. And do you know what I mean? So we're going through this design process together. And yeah, that's the intention with clarity. And also as far as framing it as an OS, was sort of a model that I picked up only last week. I was listening to Chase Chapman's On the Other Side podcast. I don't know if you guys have heard that. I'll drop a link in the stage chat. But she was doing a series with this, some folks from this sort of decentralized company, one of those sort of open agency kind of model. And they were talking about the OS as a model and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, it's quite a good way of framing it, or whatever. So we kind of followed that as a conceptual basis.
And yeah, to answer your question, clarity's not perfect. We're going to store bits of information in there, and we're going to use it the best we can for now, and try remain modular. See how the software evolves. We'll kind of present things in the aspects here. Like if you click the initial proposal, it opens up into a document. It's kind of like a shared document we can all pitch in. But it might also be we need to support in the research phase. Is it text? Is it very image based? Is it actual tools? And we'll try and try and keep it all clear in there. But it also might need support where we're chatting stuff through Discord or things like that. So I don't know if we'll need a channel or how we're going to exactly do it, but that's what the first meeting's for.
Definitely like the idea of just building everything out in the open and being transparent about it. So good job, and sounds good so far.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be a semi-messy experience. Just knowing the design process personally, there'll be a bit of backwards and forwards. So just be open to not everything's going to work, and as we go through it, when things don't work, that's how we're going to evolve the process itself. It's literally built by doing it.
Yeah, 100%. We're conscious that in creating these as the first projects, and then it's a good idea anyway to map this out in a kind of design process. But it's we're going to start from the beginning and figure out even what is a good cadence for a meeting, and what's going to be the best way for us to collaborate. There's going to be X number of people from the community who are going to be actively involved, but then probably will be taking our findings or what we've worked and reporting back to the community, because not everyone's actually going to join live. There's all these kind of to it. So yeah, we're very much going to discover how the project works in the project itself.
Yeah, we want to keep everything quite fluid, right? So if things won't work at the first time, or with your input, things will get shape.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you cats are into, or you want us that you have a skill in that's particular to any of this stuff? Anything sparks you?
Maybe just a comment from my side. I really like the kind of process, and especially that everything is kind of pretty abstract at this stage. I think that's something I've been trying to come to terms to understand what Voyager actually is, but I really appreciate the fact that I think we're all kind of finding the idea behind these concepts together. And at the beginning, maybe everybody will have a different idea what some of these ideas and concepts mean, but I generally think that this is a great way to come from something very abstract to something very concrete. So I think this is a good way to go about.
Fantastic.
Yeah, thanks for that.
I think that what for me, and really is just like setting the environment. So if we all know that this is like a stage of exploration and play, and to remove maybe some of the misconceptions or experiences or expectations that we usually have when it comes to collaboration, then I think that everybody could really enjoy the experience and enjoy the newness of this experience as well.
That's great.
Do you have some ideas of how we can do this in a way?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a couple of things, right? I always find that when like people introduce their like real world acclaim and identities and things like that, then people come with like somewhat of like an unconscious bias, or there might be some perception of hierarchy and maybe validity. So like, just starting out on like a project basis and just being open up and like providing space to have different ideas, and then allowing from those different ideas being like, okay, from this, like, what is it that we'd like to create? And so having an attention about what the goal is, and then like opening it up to like how people would like to participate. And I think that like when you're setting those foundations and kind of that tone, there two things happen. Like one, people feel comfortable in the environment. Sorry, three. Second, they feel like they could be a valued like contributor to it. And then like third, they're really able to understand what everybody's kind of role is in this like play, right? And then if things don't work out the way that we maybe anticipated, just allowing, like reminding everybody that this is just like a space of exploration, but with a goal, so that we don't end up thinking that we're like doing something that's never going to end. But that's what I found mental kind of stuff for me.
I couldn't agree more with all that. That's so well put. It's kind of couldn't agree more with everything you've said there. Basically, I love that piece there of like it's a space for play and exploration, but we're also gonna meaningfully move towards getting these things done, so we can be progressing and stuff. It's great.
I don't know if Ivana wants to talk to it, but very quickly, that he met with a friend and just talking about like how we have to see it, like we were in adolescence. I don't know if I can say it right, but maybe you want to talk to it, Ivana?
Yeah. I mean, it's just to quickly update you. Like last week, I met with my friend Karsten from Neometabolism. And they have a community as well, and they have a design practice and all that. And they're like, his work is very centralized on branding, communication. And when I was telling a bit what I had in mind for Voyager, which is this non-aesthetic, not design approach, is more designing this identity, this collective identity. He was also suggesting to look at Voyager as a living system. Is like now we are babies, like the me, Luke, and Nick in the past year. We've been mapping a bit what is the vision of what we believe that Voyager can be, like kind of checking what it will look like when we'll be a mature person, right? But right now we are babies. So we can talk to you about this stuff, but it will get you confused because we just born. So we just really need to focus on, which are the activities as a baby that is important for us, without caring too much how we're going to look when we'll be like adolescents, or like adult or senior. It's just like, let's focus on what we're doing right now. So this is the idea of like creating a fluid, like we are very against branding. We're trying to understand how can we reframe the way we communicate toward the external world, till the point that we are even questioning if we want to be recognizable, if we want to have a brand that you will have to stamp on your like that you all have to wear as a code like of values that everyone have to subscribe. So probably it's like just to create this vessel where this identity, collective identity, can come up. So like we fix some kind of values, what do we want to be, like which kind of energy we want to have from our communication. But right now it's truly like just try to be as fluid as possible, and with time thing will crystallize, but like our energy, like not just the founders but also the first contributors and also like the second layer contributors. I think like the identity, the collective identity should come from all of us. This is the idea, otherwise we wouldn't be doing this
in the wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always like the synchronicity has been high. It's like just as we're exploring these things, like Ivano has this super relevant meeting with someone where he's just like, here's kind of some ideas I'm having for the brand and stuff. And his first feedback is like, why have a brand?
Yeah.
It's immediately like flipping it on its head.
Yeah. Like not because not everyone will identify with that. So we have to be as open as possible and let it talk, That's why we're talking about identities.
Yeah, it's about identity.
So I have a question. So does anyone have an idea of how, what is the right space, or how do we want to connect in this first meeting? I have an idea that, okay, we could start it with something quite like from the course, it's kind of based, just do some like initial breathing just to get us calm. But like, where are we going to do this? How are we exactly going to do this? Do you have any suggestions or ideas? We're imagining. Sorry.
Saying in regards to platforms, I had a community call with 2+, which is like focusing more on like mental fitness, Gather Town, and I thought that was a really cute kind of experience.
Yeah, we have Gather Town.
A platform to do that. I just thought it was like really fun, and it was new because I'm used to like Discord or Zoom or Google Meets and stuff. So.
Well, so you have already experience with Gather Town, right?
Can you repeat that? I already have experience
with Gather Town. Have you been there?
Yeah, I had a community call 2 weeks ago with 2+. They use Gather Town, and there's like only like 5 of us.
Okay, and how did it feel?
It was actually really fun. Like, I mean, at first, like, it's really cute to like see everybody like move together, but like in terms of like characters, and then like you can go to like a specific room because like that's where we're all like meeting. I think we were just trying to find different and like creative ways to like engage with one another. And then like, we obviously like did all the videos, and so like everybody was seeing. But I just thought it was just like, it started off fun, right? And maybe that's like using a Gather Town already sets the stage for like fun.
Yeah.
So we have, totally. So we've set up a Gather Town, which, as we were saying before, when this email works for us and ideally goes out today, it's going to have the invite to that space that we've set up, like the Voyager Gather Town space. So yeah, I'm certainly open to that, like doing our meetups for this OS project in Gather Town seems fine, because the other alternatives would be here in Discord or Zoom or Google Call or whatever. So Gather Town is totally fine.
Might also have like a mirror board so that we can all kind of dump stuff in there if we have ideas.
Sure.
Large of it.
Something that I picked up, so it felt like for our first like meetup about this, we really, I guess, wanted to be about a bit of a meeting and coming together. Like those of us who all have kind of been getting to know each other a little bit through a few of these like agoras. But yeah, I suppose it's a sort of like first day of camp kind of feel for this first project meeting. So I guess it's about, hanging together and hearing from everyone, and GatherTown would be a great place to do that. So, and potentially we could kind of have a few things ready to discuss in terms of like what we've laid out. We can kind of share a bit of the framework of the project that we've laid out, so we can have a few open discussions and just kind of hear from folks and record everything, and then we can go ahead and take notes from that open conversation and pick up a few seeds for where we're going to go.
Any other ideas of, I don't know, it could be anything, so I'm not even sure, but if you guys have any other ideas, please feel free. Otherwise,
sorry, I just wanted to comment one more thing real quick. So we'd had this idea as well. So with GatherTown going out, and we were thinking to create a sort of like open hours kind of thing that we can potentially. So in the email, we also have a Google, so you can add the Voyager calendar to your email, just so you get notified about events and stuff that's happening. But we thought it might be cool to have open hours in the GatherTown, like an hour a day or whatever it is, suitable for various time zones. So we kind of have these times where there's a good chance that, or a higher chance that folks from Voyager are going to join GatherTown at that time. So it's kind of good times for us to kind of just meet up, meet each other, and share about stuff. If that would be interesting to you guys. And the idea that a lot of these meetups and little mini workshops and stuff that's going to be coming through Discord is generally a video off kind of audio experience, and GatherTown is much more social friendly, in-person video chat kind of space. So I would love to hear what you guys think about, aside from doing this sort of project together as a community, was kind of start to have regular quote unquote open hours, office hours kind of thing, where you could join GatherTown on a daily cadence and actually meet up with other folks, rather than just joining at any time in a 24-hour day, and there's a much smaller chance that someone's going to be online at that time.
Yeah.
I really like that idea, because the whole informal aspect might also be conducive to this kind of serendipity. So definitely, I would be up for that.
Yeah, we're trying to find like new ways of getting to know each other, because I think like that's an important part of the community. Even like in Discord, it's hard to engage on. Like we can post some stuff, but you have a different kind of interaction. And eventually with GatherTown will be a bit more fun. And at the end, the goal is to getting to know each other and start to see what everyone is working on, getting inspiration, starting the collaboration, and so on.
Because like one example of how you could use an office hour space, like Matto, who's a member here, just made this really cool project building on math castles. I don't know if you guys have seen that NFT series that he dropped. But it'd be one example of like someone in the Voyager community has just released a cool project, or they're working on something, or they just put out a record or whatever it is. And potentially you could organize, okay, at the open hours tomorrow, they could come in and kind of share their project, and we can kind of, I suppose, celebrate it, but also ask questions like, how did you do that? How do you mint a thing like that? Or what did you do? All that kind of stuff. It feels like it could be a pretty fun use of the space.
Yeah, it's basically giving attention to the members already, because like other members will find it interesting. For sure, like Matto will have like a really nice story on his journey.
I think that's also key to understand like kind of the strengths or like the areas of speciality, so that we can also support each other or know who to ask when we kind of get stuck somewhere. So definitely the possibility to get to know each other through our projects will definitely kind of elevate the whole kind of support system we could generate through this.
Yeah, fully. We feel like that's kind of the greatest strength of the idea. It's like the greatest energy here is the members and connections between each other.
Maybe I can just give an example from like my work. have my workshop where it's basically like this artist space that houses kind of sculptors and painters and guys who do woodwork. And then once a year, you have this big open house where everybody gets to visit each other's workspace, and you get to see what the people are doing. And through this, throughout the year, you know kind of who to ask for if you need somebody to do arc welding, whatever. So I feel like this could be a great kind of mental model to also base this on.
Yeah, that's really good, actually. It's like an open day, but I don't know in Germany they have a name for it too, right?
Actually, they call it open house. They don't even use the German term.
Open house, that's cool. I like that. Open house. Yeah, that's kind of like like open house. It's not like, hey, show your work. It's kind of like, it's more than that. It's like show your studio, right? Or I think they present, I can't remember, anyway. It's very cool. I like that.
Exactly. Kind of, it's not so much just the finished product, but the place where the magic happens, and you get to see the practice behind the work. So I feel like this is really what excites me personally the most is like to understand, how's the process that kind of goes into the work. So in that sense, there's not the pressure there. They have to show the polished end result, but you really kind of get to see kind of behind the curtain in a way.
Very cool. I like that.
Yeah, in general, like as artists, I think like the process is what makes your work special, right? It's like the end result is like, yeah, it is what it is, but the process often hides all the magic.
I think to that end, it could also be kind of cool for like a work in progress kind of showcase. I do one of those in real life over here in Austin, and it's pretty fun to just like have people come up and do various performances, and then afterwards, everyone in the crowd will kind of submit constructive criticism. What did we like? What do we want more of or less of?
Yeah, definitely.
That's the resonance kind of connection thing. It's like you come together, you all kind of jam, and then it's like afterwards, mainly positive, but it's like, what do we feel from this? What you've just done, and look for the sort of magic in it. Because sometimes you find like someone does a project and you look at it or a piece of art, and it's like you just don't see it until you actually sit with it. And sitting with it as a group brings other people's perspectives, and you start to see their angles and stuff. It's really healthy. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great use of the space, and you can always do it in different categories or forms potentially, like music meetups and sharing your tracks or whatever your form is. But yeah, working through these like couple of season 0 projects, the OS and the onboarding, is going to be really helpful in us like discovering how we like to meet up and collaborate together and move through projects together, and then by creating a bit of a template, then more and more it can become a bottom-up process, quote unquote, where it's like a few members of the DAO can be like, hey, we want to come and do this, and like there's sort of a framework to come and get a thing going, you know what I mean, and open it up for people to join with and stuff. So then all these things can flourish.
Yeah. So we are just trying to make a really healthy fire, and it's going to take us. I don't know how everyone has time to come and talk together like this. It's really cool. But whoever can is going to try and hold the container for the beginning of the Voyager journey, and after a while, it should be enough friction of us coming together. Not all the time. We get enough friction. We're going to make a really healthy fire, and the energy of it should be, pretty damn beautiful for everyone's life in a way. So that's the basic idea.
There is another thing I remember while you were talking, Luke. There is nothing connected, but it was to mention, because before we were talking about the onboarding process, and we're asking you guys, if you have like any feedback, you want to participate, but there is something really, really good in this that we would like. I can talk for the three of us. you to invite your friends. As we are friends, when we meet to do this project, I feel it's okay because I'm with my buddies, and I think that's why I show up. And if I've seen some of you already came a few times, and I'm just telling you, if you don't need another reason why, but I think it's nicer when you're with your friends, and I'm pretty sure if you're in the creative industry, you might be surrounded by friends and they are creative as well. Just if you have the chance, invite your buddies in because it's more fun. It will make it more family. It will make more human, and this is the point of it. We are open to new connection. Of course, it would be nice to get to know each other virtually. But if you have even a true friend you want to bring in, I think that's something that could be cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
I vibe with that, and I suppose also a goal of creating these frameworks together, the OS and the onboarding and stuff, is friends off into the future. We're kind of setting the table for them to show up. It's like when they show up, it's going to be really smooth, and they can kind of get up to speed and get going or get active with things. So there's that piece as well. It's it's nice to be inviting folks into a project that's got a fire going, I suppose you could say.
Yeah, I think a lot of my mates don't really understand what is going on with what we're doing, so it is happening without the setting it up first.
But together we can define what it is we're doing, what story are we telling, how can people interface with it, all that kind of stuff. But if you have friends that love getting into this stage of the journey, where you're helping to craft something that's new, by all means, feel free to invite them or give them a sense. And at least right now, we can be sharing these agoras as a bit if someone wants to listen in and catch up a little bit. And by all means, they can join. But also soon members can be, as we said, meeting up in Gather Town, and it becomes not just about this stuff and working on the project and the stuff that we're sharing in the agora or whatever it is. It's also just Voyager is a cool place to meet other creative people and just hang, and it's social and fun, and people are sharing cool projects, and that's kind of going to be the center stage. So you'll be inviting your friends into that environment as well.
Yeah, and we promise there will be also fun activities too, because we were thinking of it, and now we are talking about how we're setting it up and the OS, but we are thinking about also fun activity that we can participate and create art and then fun at the same time.
Well, as we've basically reached the hour now, just want to give huge appreciation for everyone joining live or listening on delay, and being in the loop on stuff. And we'll be emailing stuff out to everybody. And by all means, let's keep chatting in the Discord. And pretty soon we can be meeting up and chatting in Gathertown. And then, just kind of keep it back of mind that next week we intend to have the first one of these sort of meetups for these Season 0 projects. So it'll be at I believe at this time of day on probably Monday, most likely, or something like that, or maybe later in the week would be better to give people more notice. But just we'll be announcing the first meetup soon. But super appreciate everybody showing up live and for your input.
Yeah, if there's anything else, last things you guys want to say, please feel free to share.
Sounds good. Thanks for chatting, and see you next time.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Same thing here. See you next week.
Cool.
Peace, guys. Have a brilliant day.
Ciao. Thanks so much. Bye.
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 Bye.